I'm here today is because we are unable to get a speaker from Sri Lanka. As you may be aware, the Sri Lankan government has taken a very dangerous step that to ban the organizations in the UK and the active individuals in the UK under the terrorism provisions, and this has prevented from bringing a speaker from Sri Lanka, and this in itself will advise you how the situation is in Sri Lanka. The topic given to me to speak is about the victims in Sri Lanka, the problems they face, and the problems they face as asylum seekers in the UK. Therefore, it may take a little bit longer than the others, and I beg your patience.
No, it won't.
Let me start with a brief introduction of Sri Lanka. You may all be aware, but then therefore I'm not going to go into detail, but I'll start as a brief to give a sense of this background. When Sri Lanka was granted independence in 1948, the British failed to ensure the safety of the Tamils, which led to a detrimental civil war. The Tamils were forced to take up arms and fight to protect themselves from the systematic ethnic cleansing and the genocide which was staged by the successive Sinhalese government. Finally, the armed struggle of the Tamils was brought to a bloody end in 2009, killing up to 100,000 Tamils in the most ruthless manner. 5 years passed on. No justice was given to Tamils, or not even a single person was prosecuted for the mass multiple war crimes committed during the war. Despite the end of armed war, the conflict continues in an alternative form, where rape and sexual violence are used as weapons to continue genocide against Tamils. The situation in Sri Lanka regarding the widows. A survey by the government Deputy Minister for Women Affairs has revealed that 86,000 widows are there in North and East at present. Although the war widows form a large majority of this figure, the ongoing extrajudicial killings are inflating this figure on a daily basis. There is another category of widows which is referred as half widows, who do not know their husband's whereabouts. This is because of the large number of former LTT members disappeared without trace after surrendering to the Sri Lankan army in 2009. Also, the prevailing horror of white van abductions add to this figure today. As a result, many of the families in Sri Lanka have become female-headed households, and the widows began to face problems there. The main problem there in Sri Lanka is the rape and sexual violence by the security forces. This is in common since 1956, so there's nothing connected to the LTT or the terrorism. This has begun and well documented since 1956. In 1983, in the book called The Tragedy of Sri Lanka, William McGowan described some of the incidents. He wrote, in another incident, 2 sisters, one 18 and one 11, were decapitated and raped until there was nothing left to violate and no volunteers come forward, after which they were burned. This was history in 1983. Since then, sporadic reports of sexual violence against Tamil men and women are emerging consistently over the course of war and after until today. The research conducted by the Human Rights Watch in 2013 uncovered disturbing patterns, strongly suggesting that it is widespread and systematic practice. It concluded that rape appears to have been a key element of broader torture and ill-treatment. This torture was intended to instill terror among the Tamil population.
2 minutes.
The most recent report by former UN expert panel Jasmine Suka and the Bar Human Rights Commission has concluded that abduction, arbitrary detention, torture and rape are increased post-war period. This widespread and systematic violation by the Sri Lankan security forces occur in a manner that indicates coordinated, systematic plan approved by the highest levels of the government. The lack of safety and the culture of impunity are the major problems in Sri Lanka. The Sri Lanka is now ruled by Mahinda Rajapaksa family, who control the judiciary, executive and legislature. The victims, such as victims who suffer sexual violations, rape and sexual violation is committed against the backdrop of a deeply entrenched impunity. As a general rule, the cases of sexual violence and rape by the security forces have been poorly investigated or not pursued at all. The witness protection by the police and army prevents the Tamil widows from coming forward and seeking justice. The US Department report says a number of women did not lodge official complaints due to fear of retaliation. Mrs. Orneshwari lodged a complaint at a police station against an officer for harassment in '97. The alleged police officer, on the same day evening, went to her house, raped her, and detonated a grenade in her genital, which caused her death. No one was convicted for this crime. Constitutional remedies proven to be inefficient as penal remedies. In numerous cases, perpetrators always managed to evict accountability. In 1996, Krishanti Kumarasamy, a 16-year-old girl, was gang raped.
I'm going to have to ask you to wind up, especially if you're really not promoting 96.
Her mother, brother and daughter were also killed. Because of the media pressure, only low-level members, 6 low-level members were convicted, but they would escape sentence. The other problems they face are social stigma, shame and cultural taboo that even distance widows from their own families. The lack of mental health and the psychological support has led to an increase of suicide, which is well documented by a number of NGOs. The additional family burden and the forced contraception is the most serious issue there. And using this vulnerable situation, the Sri Lankan government is forcing the Tamil widows into the army, forced conscription into the army.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.